Simon, thank you so much for agreeing to have a chat this morning. I'm just really, really curious to know more about you and um, your experience on the LM, which I hear was a while ago.
Yes, it was 1998 that I went on it, and I went on it with a fair degree of trepidation, I have to say beforehand, but it had a massive impact on me at the time, and it stayed with me to the point where um, I've put 3 or 4 other people who've subsequently come to work for me and have been me from 22 years ago onto the course because it really did have a big effect on the way I sort of saw management and leadership and my own sort of sense of being, really. So it was for me, it was an all-encompassing experience that is right up there with things I've done, actually. Yeah.
Wow. And so what industry were you working in when you came onto the course?
At the time, I was working in car rental. So I was working for a big car rental company. I was a sort of middle manager, an area manager, and took life with a bit of a breeze, really. And yeah, so I was surprised to have been asked to go on the course by the management, but I was very pleased to have done it, obviously, in retrospect. But yeah, I was a sort of middle manager in car rental. Car rental's quite a frenetic industry. It's a very immediate business where things change by the hour, and I think, again, with hindsight, that kind of gave me a decent grounding for what unfolded when I went on Leadership Trust.
And what was so you said that it had a big impact in your life at work, but also in your life
Yeah.
outside of work. And so what was your life outside of work like before you came onto the course?
Well, it was generally happy. I mean, I had massive challenges around my self-esteem and self-worth. I was adopted at 6 weeks of age, and I think that sort of certainly has coloured sort of the way I view things throughout my life. But pre-Leadership Trust, I really did have challenges with self-confidence and self-worth and self-esteem, and felt that I was probably easily disposable, and my ideas and contributions might be easily disposable. And so with that, I kind of took life with a bit of a pinch of salt, didn't take myself too seriously, and possibly work as seriously as I might have done, and a multitude of other things, really. So that's how I was to a degree before I came onto the course.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Simon. I'm really, really grateful that you would do that. And on the course, so tell me more about your experience on the course. Do you remember it, or is it all a bit of a blur?
No, I remember it pretty vividly. And I mean, I remember arriving on the Sunday evening and sort of meeting these people, which was great. And we had a few beers, and then realizing that there were no locks on the doors in the rooms. And of course, I thought that was a bit strange, and thought I better hide my mobile phone under the pillow and stuff. And of course, what it came to crystallize was the very essence of trust that Leadership Trust fosters in people, and the trust that you build with the group of people you're in to get you through the experiences of the week. So again, something that seemed quite insignificant at the time sort of resonates with me to this day, that wow, there's no locks on the door, and because there didn't need to be. But so I remember, starting the course, looking at the schedule before I got there, and I'm thinking, crikey, there's some early starts here, and lectures at 10 o'clock in the evening, and task 1, task 2. Good heavens, what am I what am I doing? And yeah, it was the first day or two was a bit of a baptism of fire, but remember it very well. Lovely facility, beautiful accommodation. I remember being certainly brilliantly fed. The fare was fantastic, and the rooms were well appointed. And yeah, it's being a bit like in a 5-star hotel rather than sort of going for a beasting was my initial impression when I got there.
Yeah, we know what we take people through, so we're very careful to care for everything around the experience that happens. And I do have quite an intimate question, and feel free to not answer if you're not willing to. But do you remember what your light bulb moment was and how it happened?
Well, yes. I mean, I suppose the the biggest one for me was, we went through the week, and the tasks when they began were sort of quite practically oriented in terms of constructing A-frames and things like that. And I was in a group with people that came from construction, and didn't really feel I was contributing too much. But I got appointed to lead a task towards the end of the week, actually, which was uh, it was a sketch task. And I remember we did a sort of spoof of Question Time, and I was leading this task, and put the right people, as I felt, in the right places, and we won the task. And we hadn't won a task all week, and we were over the moon with this. We'd won this task, and I'd led it. And I remember being John Frost presented me with the winning T-shirt, which I still have somewhere. How do you feel now? It was always what was asked after it, saying, "How do you feel now?" And I suddenly felt really good about myself, and that actually, do you know what, I can contribute to these things, and I can lead, and I have plenty to offer. And that was it for me, really. It changed me significantly in realizing that I could put component parts together, people that were very different to me, and lead them to achieve something, which in that instant happened to be the T-shirt that we all won. And that I could do that, and I had an innate skill within me and capability to do that, that the course had sort of brought out of me. And I suppose an extension of that was when I got home, really, on the Saturday afternoon, and I walked into the house, and my little 4-year-old, she was 10, came up to me and, "Oh, Daddy," and I just became really emotional. My wife said, "What on earth's the matter? You've been away. What's up?" And I sort of just blubbed out, I'm worth something, and I can contribute." And so that was a real seismic output for me of Leadership Trust. I can feel getting emotional about it now. It was brilliant experience.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm getting a bit emotional too.
It was 23 years ago, was it? Crikey. There you go.
Yeah, it tends to stay with us for a very long time. I've got goosebumps everywhere. Simon, I'm so grateful.
Absolutely.
I really am. And so
Okay.
how did life carry on after that?
Well, it sort of developed professionally, probably in a better direction it would have done had I not been on the course. Absolutely. I remember being exhausted when I got back from the course immediately, physically and mentally. But after that, yes, I suppose that sense of, I've got something to offer sort of drove me on to aspire to be more ambitious in my professional career, but also to do things in my personal life as well, that drawing on the experiences of my adoption, and working with adoption charities and things like that as well. But in my professional life, yes, I went on, and I became, a regional director, and then an operations director, and saw an opportunity to sort of, I'd see these young Simon Clothiers as the years have gone by come in front of me, and I was able to see in them, I suppose, things that others saw in me when I was on that course, and sort of bring it out. And I suppose one of the key things that I took from the course and do to this moment was to learn to encourage the things that aren't going so well, but really look for the good news story in anything and anyone. And I suppose clinically, in terms of my life as an operations director and a profit and loss account, I'd always look for a good news story within a bad set of numbers, really. And I got that from Leadership Trust, is to take that, pull that lever, and guess what? The other things can then get better too. So I suppose my management style changed materially in that respect, but also I fundamentally from a position of 360-degree evaluation, and being very aware of how I might affect people with the way I look. I have the kind of haircut there that if I don't smile, I can look rather nasty and intimidating. And all of those things that I got out of this wonderful feedback session at the end of Leadership Trust have stayed with me and have coloured my management style significantly throughout the last 20 odd years. And precisely when I've seen in someone some sort of raw ingredients of things that I felt I had, I've wanted to get them onto the course. And we're speaking because I'm in a situation today where I've seen that in a young guy, and I think he's really going to benefit from what will be a fabulous experience on Leadership Trust.
Oh, thank you so much. I have so many more questions.
That's fine.
I want to know so much more. So you said after the course, so it's really wonderful for us to hear, that your career went on to progress in the way that you've highlighted. And I'm always really interested to hear from people how, even though this course is, it's leadership in management, it's a corporate course, what I'm always interested to see is how the learning and the development that happens during this course actually spreads out everywhere else in your life. So you said that you got involved in charity, in adoption charities.
Yes, I did. It's something that obviously was close to my heart. So I had an opportunity to do some work supporting those charities, the British Association for Adoption and Fostering, and I went on to do some media work representing the organisation and sort of national media to talk about adoption, and that's been great. But I think also, I suppose, the course taught me, both in personal and professional perspectives, to reflect and think very carefully about the potential permutations of consequence of anything I might do, be it a professional decision or something in my personal life. And again, going back to the course, Leo, I do remember that the ground would be a moving feast of change, and just when you'd feel that you'd made a good decision, something would come out of left side and you think, no, that wasn't a good decision. Why didn't I just hold fire a little bit before I jumped in the car to Simmons Yacht, as I said I could, instead of doing something different? So that's really, I suppose, in a sentence or two, how things changed in terms of my learning and development, and an appreciation of time, and how good it is to have time to think, and again, how 2 or 5 minutes of time to yourself in a really difficult changing environment such as leadership trust, I remember you suddenly get 2 or 5 minutes to yourself and think, wow, that's a long time for me to now think about what's going on. So I suppose it's made me more appreciative of time, how valuable time is, and even when you're right in amongst it, professionally or personally, that if you get 2 or 3 minutes just to reflect and think and reset your compass, how valuable that is. So my appreciation and management of personal time in professional and personal circumstances was definitely coloured and enhanced by my experience on the course.
Oh, that's amazing, and it's so wonderful to hear that the outcomes of the course have helped you support such important work in the charity world, and how the fact that you increase that level of self-confidence, you were able to take on big jobs within national media. That's really so wonderful to hear, the impact of how far, your self discovery really has helped, made the world really a better place as a result of it. And maybe just one last question. And you mentioned that when you came home after the course, your son came up to you. Do you feel that it changed in any way relationships you might have had within your family environment? Did you relate to people differently after?
Yeah, most definitely. It was my daughter, actually. My daughter was 4 at the time. My son came along a year later, funnily enough. But I have 2 children. Without doubt, it taught me to understand how the way I would behave, or a flippant comment I might make, could be interpreted or misinterpreted, and to be really aware of the presence that I realized that I had and never realized I had, I suppose. So absolutely, that affected me in terms of the way that I have been through parenthood, and I've loved being a dad from the very first moment it happened to this moment as I sit here now, but also in terms of my relationship with my wife. And we've got 33 years on the board, and I'm very proud of that. And it's caused me to reflect very deeply, and to be far more aware of when I'm wrong. And I suppose in my personal life, also professional life, when I've been wrong or when I've been through a difficult experience, or an altercation even, to understand and reflect very deeply on it, on how my part in it and the way I acted, or appeared to act, contributed to the way the other person would react to that. So I got a lot out of leadership trust in terms of, yeah, the way I'd live my home life, that I'd parent, but also reflect and appreciate when I'd got things wrong and be quick to say, you know what, yeah, Belinda, I got that one, got that one pretty horribly wrong. So yes, I have nothing but a legacy of affection for the course and for the way it sort of helped shape me in the last 20 odd years.
Well, I'm so humbled, Simon, and I'm even more grateful that you're sending young people onto the course. Was there anything specific in them that you saw that you thought, oh, leadership trust would be right for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's two examples really. I mean, there was an individual that I sent from a previous employer who I met, and he'd been in the business for a long time, but he was kind of the fourth emergency service to the business. So if there was a panic, they'd send this individual in to sort it out. But he never made it to the directors' table because of his view on the world, that he was the world's greatest living expert on everything. And so I said, do you know what, this is going to be fabulous for this guy to go on this course. Was able to get him on it. Subsequently, other managers from the business also went on it, but this individual absolutely came back having been held up to the light. And the brilliant thing about the course is you can't hide who you really are, actually, because the stripes on the shoulder count for nothing. And in day one and maybe day 1.5, you can kind of get away with it, and people think that you're this or you're that, but the course will take you up there 1 minute, down there the next, and you can't then hide over that period of time really how you are and how you react to people. And that individual learned a lot about how he was perceived when he reacted badly. The individual that I've just wanted to send on it is very different. He's a very lovely young guy, but he's in his early 30s, and hasn't kind of broken through into the level that he probably could, and I believe will do, because he has a self-confidence issue. And it resonates again with where I was 23 years ago, where he's got some really lovely interpersonal skills. He's a bright guy, and he doesn't realize what a positive impact he can have on people. So in difference to the previous individual I spoke about, he's got the raw ingredients of being very amiable, very affable, but doesn't realize it. He doesn't realize how powerful his very good interpersonal skills can be, and the positive impact they can have. And I want him to have that self-awareness and that light bulb moment that, do you know what, actually, I've got these tools in my bag, and wow, and I can use them and to good effect. So I'm really hoping that's what that individual gets from it, and I'm sure he will. And I'm really pleased to be reassociated with the trust again to get him on it. And but I'm looking forward. I can't wait to see how he fares when he's going in May, and comes back. And he's a young father as well. He's got a very young child. So there were so many sort of similarities between this individual and where I was at the point in my life when I won a leadership trust.
What an incredible gift you're giving him. And I think that's so interesting now, with how the world has changed, particularly post-pandemic, where the lines in between personal life and professional life have been completely blurred. I think what's so interesting about this course is because it has such an impact both at work and at home. That's how employers can give such an incredible gift to their employees, even though the employer is going to get a lot out of it. The fact that you're in essence giving that person a new lease of life once they'll have discovered the real power that they have. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to do, and people who have gone through the course and who are now in positions to be able to send other people in that course, there's always a real sense of responsibility and almost duty, that if you can do that, what we've lived, we want to give it to other people. So that's it's a real gift, and we're definitely, as an organization, trying to get more and more people to come onto the course, because we really believe at this point in time, when there's so much uncertainty and so much questioning, and people aren't feeling very well, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of doubt, and knowing that within you've got everything you need to be able to succeed, and it's just a matter of finding it and knowing how to use it. We feel we definitely have a responsibility to get people through the process, but in the end, we're just custodians of it. We've got, when people come onto the course, we've got no power. It's like, off you go, we'll make sure we keep you safe, but it just happens on its own, and that's the power of it.
It's magical, and it is. It's an amazing experience, and it'd be so fabulous to be able to do it a second time for the first time, which of course is impossible. But I remember just before I came on my course, someone that had been on it said, "Simon, if I could do it again, I absolutely would." And I said, "Oh, okay." And of course, I came to understand exactly what she meant.
But that's definitely something. It's really interesting, Simon, because I'll pick your brains on this too. That sensation of I'd love to do it again for the first time, and it's very difficult for us to know what more support we can provide to people once they've gone through this experience, because it's very raw. It can be very uncomfortable, and that's part of the learning process. Everything we put together to protect ourselves. And full disclaimer, I was on the course in May 2016, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That sense of discomfort, all of the things you've put together to protect yourself and help you operate, all of that has to come down. So there's definitely a lot of vulnerability, which isn't always very comfortable.
No.
But knowing what we can do, you go through the course and you sort of get picked apart, and then at the end of the course, it's like goodbye and good luck with that. So knowing what you would have required or appreciated in terms of additional support after the course would help us shape how we're going to offer whatever more support we can post course.
Well, that's a very good question. I suppose, I mean, here we are 20 years later, the whole narrative on mental health and well-being has changed dramatically and developed far greater than it was back then. But I suppose thinking back, I mean, I came back to a business where I was very well supported by my line manageress, as the traditionalist within me would say.
Had she been on the course?
Yes, she had, and yes, she had, and
is that how you came on to it?
She was pivotal, I think, in getting me put forward to it, and sort of showed this sort of belief in me. So I had good sort of pastoral support from her when I got back into the business. In terms of Leadership Trust, I mean, there were, I know there were groups that I could have joined, and I did. I remember catching up with a couple of people after the course, some months, a year or two later, actually, just for a casual sort of beer and a pie, but nothing that's sort of sustainable. I suppose if I was to do it again, I'd absolutely want to immerse myself far more in post-course contact, and I did. I was extremely emotional about it. I mean, I'm sitting here today. I remember when I got my photograph from Sam last week, and I was looking at it, and it made me feel hugely emotional. So I guess a way of being able to speak, maybe partially as I've spoken with you today, Leah, would have been helpful for me at the time, and I didn't quite open up in that way at work as I might have done, and certainly not with Leadership Trust post the course. But I'm sure that things being very different today, that's what I would find of real benefit, would be able almost to go back into the room and, I've still not had a drink kind of thing, and this is how I'm managing it, with that sort of forum of peer support that was so overwhelming in a brilliant way on the course. That actually there were other people with challenges, different personal challenges, different challenging in their makeup to me, but actually the common denominator was that there were some personal challenges, and somehow we got through that course. So yeah, I think some of that going forward would be very helpful, and maybe more of a an insistent or structured invitation process from the trust to sort of not tie people back into it, but so people don't forget that actually, yeah, it's there, and I can still relive that part of it, and even foster some of those thoughts to again, and channel them, develop my thinking and relationship management furthermore. So yeah, I think there's a lot that 23 years on, if I was doing it again, I'd look to sort of absolutely stay in touch much more, and be party to any forums that were available to me to sort of speak about my experience, and also hear about others and how they've got on.
That's hugely helpful, Simon, and it's definitely something that we're looking into now. And with technology now, it's so easy. Nothing's stopping us to have a once a month facilitated group coaching where everyone, every single alum, worldwide could, meet up, and it's informal, and it's let's just get together and have a chat. If there are, now you can do that with technology. So we're really excited about having more parties and celebrate who we are. I think this kind of content is also going to help. So the next interviews I have planned, we've got quite a lot now of fathers who have sent and funded their children to come onto the course. I think there'll be lots of interesting stories there, and I think sharing all of that amongst ourselves, I think, can really help. A lot of what you said today, it's making me reflect on a number of things. So the leadership is definitely a lifelong journey, and we never stop learning. And the minute you think you've understood it all, that's the moment you've got to be careful.
It's so true.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really so grateful for the time you shared with me this morning, and I'll put something in the post for you. And I'm also going to give you access to, now we have an online learning platform.
Okay.
So I'll send you access code so you can revisit all of the models.
Brilliant.
So, that can be useful. And right now we're also busy recording the central presentations. So we're going to make podcasts out of them. So you'll have the model on your learning platform. And then as soon as we've got the voiceover to go with it, we're going to put it all together. So, we've got, I think we calculated 80,000 people who have gone through the LM since its inception. So, I'd really love to get, all of us back together. And I think, we're definitely a critical mass of people who have been very successful. And I think if we can show that we can be successful by being who we truly are and by doing good, I think it's a message that really needs to get out. So we're going to get that going.
Well, that sounds fabulous, and I'm pleased to be a very small fraction of that body of people that have been through the course. It's been brilliant.
Well, I'm so happy for us to have connected, and I'll be in touch with all of your goodies.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I've really enjoyed speaking with you, and fantastic.
Same here. And I will definitely be in touch when we get those group get-togethers of alum, for us to share our experiences.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, Leah.
Simon, thank you so much, and have a great day and great weekend. It's Friday.
It is. Yay. Okay. And you.
Cheers, Simon. Bye.
Bye-bye.